and welcome to another episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. My name is Hannah. This is Nova, and this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. Uh-oh. Oh, how are you? How are you? What are you sitting on?
Elmo.
An Elmo book? You should see all the treasures she collected to show in her podcast. Her podcast. Yes. If you're looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as the Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram and on Facebook, as the Cozy Cottage on Ravelry. We have a Ravelry group for this podcast linked directly down below. And any questions, comments, concerns, anything to do with the podcast specifically, please shoot me an email. That's the best way to get a hold of me. My email address is thecozycottagecrochet@gmail.com. Who's that?
Baby Moana.
Baby Moana. What's that?
Shishu.
Yes. Who is?
Mommy.
That's Maui. Who's that?
Hi.
Who is that?
Hi.
Hey, the chicken. And who's that?
Boo
Boo Boo.
boo.
Who got a boo boo?
Boo boo.
Moana got a boo boo on her foot. She's obsessed with Moana right now. So we have a Moana book. And what else do we have, Nova?
Moana.
A baby Moana doll. Woo! It's not the one she wanted, because the one she wanted was $1 billion approximately at Target, but this one was only $7. And it's just as good. So just join the list of things that goes with her everywhere, which is this teddy bear and this Elmo. Who got you that Elmo? Oh, was it
Emmy.
Yeah. We do have a make-along running for this podcast right now. It is the Cozy Summer Mal. You have a couple of more weeks to get your entries in the Ravelry group. Whips are allowed. Knitting, crochet is allowed. Anything you want to do. It just needs to be a garment for whatever season is the opposite of the season you're in. So if you're in North America like I am, or in Europe, it is almost the end of summer right now. In fact, some of you are like getting into fall weather. It's still like 85 degrees here at all times, so we are not. But you're going to be making something for the winter time, and if it's winter time where you are, then make something for the summertime and enter it. We have some wonderful prizes that will be going out. I will draw them at the beginning of October, and we will mail them out. They'll be completely random, but there's at least 2 sweater quantities of yarn going to be sent out, which is super exciting. And then we'll see where we go from there. Oh, do you want to tell them about your life, Nova?
Mama.
Your life only consists of Moana.
Mama.
Yeah, you want to come up here?
Mama.
No one can. Oh, Grandma. Are you saying Grandma? Is Grandma going to come see you today?
Mama.
Can you say, hi, Grandma?
Mama.
Yeah. She just this morning started saying Grandma instead of Ma. You added another syllable. And the other day she came out randomly with a huge word. Can you say ballerina?
Mama.
Ballerina. You got a mouthful of pretzels. Are we going to go night-night?
Night.
Mm-hmm. This one needs night-night. Before I said, hey, do you want to record a podcast? She was crying for half an hour because she tripped over a block. I don't really think she was hurt that badly, but couldn't recover because it's just almost nap time. I'm back. It's time to podcast. Are you guys ready? Because I have a huge amount of stuff to show you. Like, I don't even know how many projects are here, but a lot. I have a lot of information to talk about. And the baby is down, or at least in her crib, not complaining. So we should have a little bit of time to get through this. But I just want to be honest with you. I'm doing this because I know that I want to, and it brings me happiness, and I know that I'll feel better after I podcast. But I'm like real grouchy today. This is an accurate description of my inner life today. And I'm just covering it up with the neon rainbow. So if you're having one of those kind of days too, just trust me, I feel you. Nova has been sick nonstop. That's probably why I've gotten so much done, because she's been going to bed earlier because she's just been so sick. The antibiotics that they gave her, she had the virus, which lasted a week, and that was terrible. And then she had like 2 days of being healthy. And then she got something else, had like a wet cough. started getting a low-grade fever. I took her to the doctor after about 5 days because it wasn't getting any better. They gave her antibiotics, and then she immediately started getting better on the antibiotics, except that 2 days later, she got hives all over herself. So we had to stop the antibiotics, get her on a new antibiotic, and now that seems to be working because she seems to be feeling much better. She's just not quite her normal self, but it's been a rough couple weeks. And on top of that, I am PMSing, question mark? I haven't got my period back since the miscarriage, and I feel like I've been PMSing for like a week and a half. So it's just a great time to be hormonal and emotional when you have a baby who is like, I'm dying all day. So it's fine. Everything's fine. I have been stressed, so I've been stress knitting a little bit, which you will see. And there's just a lot. There's a lot. So let's just jump into it because yarn always makes us happy, right? It certainly makes me happy. And I'm wearing this, this is my DK version of the granny stripe cardigan. Thank you guys so much for all of your support on this pattern. When I released it in the last episode, it was on the Hot Right Now page for Crochet, page 1 of Hot Right Now for Crochet for like a whole day, which is awesome. And the proceeds from this pattern, I know I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do with it, but I just want to share what is going to happen with the proceeds. Some of it's going to medical bills for my surgery. I also bought a mop, which is something you get excited about as an adult, I guess. There's a spin mop that I've wanted for a while, and Amazon had a sale on it, so I bought it. And then a little bit of the money is going to be squirreled away for a trip that I am going on to Rhinebeck. Yes, you heard me. I'm going to Rhinebeck. I know it's in a month. The ticket has actually been purchased for a while. This is the 3rd time I've tried to go to Rhinebeck. I was originally going to go in 2019, but with the job change and everything, it just wasn't financially feasible. And then in 2020, I was going to go, and then I was pregnant and there was COVID, so there was no Rhinebeck at all. And then in 2021, I wanted to go, but Nova was still small and I was way too, I couldn't leave her. There's no way. So that didn't happen. So I've been planning to go to Rhinebeck I've wanted to go since I found out that Rhinebeck existed. So years and years, but I've been planning to go for over 3 years now. And maybe 6 months ago, I was like, oh, I really want to go, but I don't know if I can leave Nova, and I don't know about this money situation. And I've started saving for this 3 times in a row, and we've ended up putting the money towards other things. And my husband was just like, you know what? You're just gonna go. You're just gonna go find a cheap plane flight, find a cheap Airbnb, find someone to split it with you. It'll be fine. And so what I did is I bought a non-refundable ticket. Is that smart? Probably not. But it does mean that unless I'm literally sick and dying, I have to go. I can't back out at the last second because I'm anxious about leaving Nova for 3 nights. Yeah, Friday, Monday. Yeah, 3 nights. I've never been away from her that long. I've never been not in the same city as her, so that makes me very anxious. But if I back out of the plane ticket, then we just lose that money. So I have to go. And a very, very lovely friend of mine, Maria, is going with me. And we're going to be on the plane together, and then we're going to be in the rental car together. We're flying into LaGuardia because that was by far the cheapest ticket by hundreds of dollars. But LaGuardia is a garbage airport. I know this because I have been through it several times in my life. I have high airport standards because I have the Tampa International Airport, which is a very nice airport. LaGuardia, no, not nice. It's on par with the New Jersey Newark Airport, also a garbage airport. I apologize if either of those airports are your favorite. It's just my experience having flown through them in the past. There are plenty of other garbage airports in the world, but Tampa is a great airport. But we're flying into LaGuardia, and I'm renting a car to drive up to Rhinebeck because there's no way you can get around without a car, I don't think, unless you want to spend $1 billion on Ubers. So I'm just going to be with Maria the whole time, who is such a dear friend of mine. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I am already overwhelmed by the idea of being at Rhinebeck. I've wanted to go for so many years. So there's that excitement. And there's also this small panic of there's gonna be so much yarn and you're just gonna die. Like you're gonna be overstimulated. And yes, that's probably true. So my plan is I had emergency surgery a month ago, so it's not like I'm gonna be spending a lot of money, but I have saved enough money and this is my plan. I'm putting it out there on the internet so that y'all can hold me accountable. If you see me at Rhinebeck walking around with variegated yarn, you slap it out of my hand, okay? My plan is to come back with one sweater quantity of tonal or speckled yarn in one color. Okay, I don't want to fade it. I don't want it to be variegated. I want it to be a tonal or perhaps a speckle in the same tonal family yarn that I can make a sweater out of and like make a sweater that maybe I could wear to another Rhinebeck in the future. I definitely won't be able to go next year. There's no way, but someday. So my plan is I have enough money saved to get a sweater's quantity of yarn, and I want to come home with a sock set that I can make that reminds me of Rhinebeck, and maybe like a couple tiny other little goodies like a notion or something like that. So I won't have like a massive Rhinebeck haul, but also I'm going to be too anxious. Like I'm going to be high on yarn fumes in every area. Like I'm going to be so excited about that. But shopping gives me anxiety because spending money gives me anxiety. That's what happens when you grow up without much money. So I probably will not be buying anything on Saturday because I will be there for both days, Saturday and Sunday. I won't be at India Entangled because our plane flight, we won't get there. The plane flight doesn't land until like 1 p.m. or something, and then we still have to drive like 100 miles to get to upstate New York. So I won't be at India Entangled or anything like that, but I will be at all day Saturday and all day Sunday at Rhinebeck, and I'm just really, 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 really thrilled. So if you are going to Rhinebeck, please come say hi to me, okay? I promise you I will be prepared to talk to people. It will not bother me if you tap on my shoulder. Please don't be offended if I like jump a little, but I will do my best not to do that. When people sneak up behind me, I'm like a little jumpy, but that's not you. I promise that's not you. My husband can walk up behind me and I jump. I want to talk to you. I want to know your name. I want to give you a hug. I want to see what you're wearing. Like if you see me at Rhinebeck and you are at Rhinebeck, please talk to me. Don't be like, oh my gosh, I can't go interrupt her. She's talking to someone. Like, please come talk to me. I want to talk to you. That's 50% of the reason I've wanted to go to Rhinebeck is to actually meet people in person, because we just don't have anything like that in Florida. Like nothing like that. The closest thing we have is maybe Stitches South, which is in Atlanta. I don't even know if they're doing that anymore. I think they are. But Atlanta's like 8 hours away from me. So I'm just over the moon that I'm going to Rhinebeck, and I really hope if you're there that you'll come say hi to me. I am planning on having lots of snacks, bringing a water bottle, bringing a project to work on, a small portable project, and I'll share. I shared, the yarn is like way over there, but it's a sock head hat that I will be working on for a very dear friend of mine. And I wanted to like infuse it with all the yarny vibes and all the good energy. I have a weird, like, sometimes I think that projects can like not necessarily pick up on the energy that is around them, but like it's just kind of infused in it a little bit. And one of the reasons that I think that is because Nova, of all the stuffed animals she could have, has picked as her favorite my husband's 30-year-old teddy bear that he loved to death. So, like, I just feel like all the good energy and the good vibes that you put into something, like, matter. And I really wanted this special project for a special friend to be made during Rhinebeck. So I'm going to be working on a sockhead hat while I'm there. If you have been to Rhinebeck and you have tips, please tell me, like, do I need to make sure that all of my money is cash? Or do the vendors prefer card? Is there easy food? Like, because I need food. I need food, y'all. I don't mind all the walking and the standing. Mobility is not an issue that I will have. But yeah, I'm like nervous, excited. I am in the con column. I am anxious about leaving Nova. I know I'm going to be overwhelmed by all of the yarn. And that's it. I'm just anxious about leaving Nova. And I'm overwhelmed by all the yarn that's going to be there. But in the pro column, there's going to be beautiful yarn friends and beautiful yarn and a beautiful person that I'm traveling with, and some nights of sleep by myself where I'm not worrying about the baby, and meals in silence, and a project that I can work on whenever I want. And meeting people in person. Like, there's so many positives. Just like, it hasn't sunk in yet that it's actually happening in like less than a month. So yes, please come say hi to me. That was a long rambling explanation. Please come say hi to me if you're going to Rhinebeck, because I am also going to Rhinebeck. How did I even get on that subject? I wanted to share that with you, but I know there was a reason. I think it was because I was talking about this cardigan, and thank you for all of your support of the cardigan. Yes. That's how I got on this cardigan. And I'm wearing it because the colors make me happy, even though this is how I feel inside. And actually just talking to you for 10 minutes about going to Rhinebeck has already improved my mood exponentially. So thank you for being here with me. I also pulled out a mango liquid death. It's just water, y'all. It's just water. I know it looks like something else. It's just water. It's delicious. I've been saving this mango liquid death for literally like 2 months. Just for the perfect time to drink it, and today is that perfect time. And I also wanted to show you the stack of cards that y'all have sent me after my surgery is like this big now. Look at how big it is. Oh, I don't want to show anyone's address. I'm going to show it like this. And then look, the sheep. There's postcards and cards, and y'all sent me lovely tea and stickers and so many funny jokes. Oh my gosh, so many funny jokes. Like, here's one to cheer you up if you're having a bad day. Waiter, how would you like your steak, sir? Sir, like winning an argument with my wife. Waiter, rare it is. That made me laugh. There's so many jokes in there that made me laugh. So if you sent me a card, thank you so much. I don't want to say anyone's name on the air just in case you didn't want that, but it really has made me smile. And the reason they're all in a stack is because multiple times over the last 2 weeks, I have sat down and pulled them out and like read a couple jokes and then put them back in just to improve my day. And it really has. So let's talk yarn, shall we? Let's talk finished object, question mark? The reason this is a finished object, question mark, is because I made a mistake on the decreases and I think I need to rip it out. It is the sockhead hat that I was working on last time I talked to you in the hot pink. It was from a sock blank dyed by my lovely friend Maria, who I'm going to Rhinebeck with. And I don't know where it was. I have woven in the ends. It has not been blocked because you see how rumply this is? That is because I did the decreases incorrectly. The reason this hat is finished, because this was my morning meditation project, is because we went to Bradenton, which is like 45 minutes away from us, to visit some friends, and Nova can handle about 45 minutes in the car now, which is a miracle, without losing her mind. And it was the first time, I think, ever since she's been born that I actually knit the whole way there and the whole way back. Or like, that's never happened. So I had the pattern with me, but in my head I was like, oh yeah, you just start with 6. It's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away. You knit 6, you knit 2 together, you do that all the way around, and then you knit a row, and then you knit 5, and you knit... No, you knit 6, you knit 2 together, you do that around the whole round, and then you knit 2 rows. So I did all of the decreases, skipping a whole row in between, and then I was maybe 2 rows from finishing it when I realized the mistake. I was like, why does this look so weird? And then I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll just finish it. And at the time I was like, I don't think it's gonna bother me. And I still can't decide if it's gonna bother me or not. It's definitely rumply. It doesn't look like it's supposed to because it pulls in too much. I'm missing like 6 rows out of the top, which you wouldn't think that that's that much, but that's like an inch or something. So this is the hat. Oh yes, hot pink slouch hat. Yes, please. Let me show you. This is the back. I'm assuming it looks fine. I can't really tell. I should have a mirror back here so I can see. But I don't know if it's gonna just bother me that there's a problem. I'm trying to decide if it bothers me enough to spend my life picking up 144 stitches in fingering weight yarn just to reknit the top. I'm leaning towards I'm gonna pick up 144 stitches and just reknit the top. Because once you start the decreases, it literally flies off the needles. Flies. The decreases are so fast on a sockhead hat. I just can't believe I did that. just when I think I have the whole thing down and memorized, I go and do a silly thing like that. So yes, that's it has not been blocked because I just can't decide what to do with it. Pretty much every other day I'm like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna rip out the top, and then the next day I'm like, oh, I don't want to. So it's in timeout. That's where it is. Let's talk. I suppose let's keep going with knitting, although I have 1, 2, 3, 4 crochet projects, except one of them is way over there, which means I'm gonna have to pause the video. Let's do sockhead hats and socks first, and then we'll talk about crochet. I started another sockhead hat, and this is in beautiful cotton candy yarn by Lola Bean Yarn Company. It's Black Label, and it is the colorway Candy. Makes sense? It's 25% nylon and 75% superwash merino. This was a gift from my lovely friend Amanda, and look how far I am already. It's pulled a little bit on the brim, but once I switch to larger needles to do this, it's more striping. And pulling is something I tend to hate generally and avoid at all costs, but this doesn't bother me too much because it's, especially if you turn the brim over, which you would, like, you're barely gonna be able to tell. And I just love it. As I said, I've been stress knitting, and by stress knitting, I don't mean I've been angrily knitting or tightly knitting. I mean, I have been intentionally taking any moment of time I possibly could to sit down and work on this, to be calm and meditate, because the last 2 weeks have been rough. So I am halfway through the sockhead hat, maybe more. I mean, to do a whole sockhead hat, it's like 11, 12 inches. I bet you that's 8 inches? Let's measure. 7 inches. So yeah, 5 more inches and the hat will be done. I love all of the pretty colored speckles. I even took this hat with me yesterday. Time was moving backwards. So we went to Target to let Nova run around in the toy aisle, and she spent the entire time holding the Moana doll in the package. And she also said hi to Bluey. But I took this with me, and when she was sitting on the floor happily contentedly playing in the toy aisle, I simply knit, and it was very nice. Highly recommend. So that's number 1, sockhead hat. I guess it's number 2. This is number 1. The next thing I'm going to show you is sock progress. These are my hospital socks because I knit almost the entire first sock while I was getting surgery. And I'm gonna put it on a sock blocker for you because it's magical. I just really I really love these socks. I love everything about them. They make me so happy. And I'm below the heel on the second one. So this yarn, there's the mini. Oh, yeah, I'm below the heel. This isn't even attached anymore. I just have a toe lift in that mini skein. So this yarn is the Yarn Jar in a colorway Wild Orchid. It is 75/25 merino nylon. This was a gift from Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, Jean, who sent this to me, who is a lovely viewer of this podcast, and I adore this yarn. It brings me nothing but happy vibes. And this is where I was last time. I was like maybe 1, 2, 4 stripes in. So I finished all of these stripes and put in the heel, and then finished this stripe right here on the top of the heel. So all of that has been done since last time. Exciting. But wait, there's more socks. In fact, I need to pick out. I have half a sock left to complete in this bag and 1 whole sock left to complete in the other bag, which means I need to start digging in my stash for more sock yarn to use. I'm on a sock kick right now. The other sock I actually bound off last night. This is where I was last time. So I finished the foot, did a heel, did a cuff, and the ribbing on the cuff. These I made toe up. I don't know why. I really do not like doing toe up socks at the moment, although I am going to make the other one the same way. These are going to be slightly too big for me, but that's fine. They're not for me. They're for someone with slightly bigger feet. Yes, I'm making a pair of socks for someone. No, don't ask me to do it for you. This is just because I love someone and I think they need a hug in the form of a sock. So this looks like a fancy heel, but really it's this pink stripe merging with the pink of the mini. You can barely tell. It's so close. So I made these toe up. They're a little bit bigger than they would be for me, and I have to weave in the ends, but the first sock is done. I have not cast on the second one, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Okay, that's the end of knitting, except for one project that I will talk about at the end. Okay, I have a finished object that you didn't even see as a started project last time, which is crazy. It was living in this knitted bag, which is funny because the project is crochet. But this is the bag that I had all of the Molly shawl, that tricolor brown shawl, which will be released as a pattern at the beginning of October. It's in testing right now. That notebook and yarn labels and stuff was in this bag. And so when the shawl itself moved out, because I used every scrap of yarn, I still have the notebook and the yarn labels just till the pattern is published. And I just immediately moved in some more yarn, which is Uru yarn by Knit Crate, Chunk. And it is 82% merino wool, 18% Peruvian Pima cotton, super bulky, 109 yards for 100 grams. I had 2 of these. I showed them to you last time, I think it was last time, in the big box of yarn, and I was like, this needs to be a design. Well, it is. It already is. I don't have the pattern written up yet, but it's a very easy pattern. I just sat down and I just knew immediately what it needed to be. I have this much yarn left. This little tiny nug, it would not do a whole row. This is still wet. I blocked it last night and it's pretty thick, but it is a cowl. I'm going to put it on, but it's wet because I was laying it flat to dry. So it is a nice, chunky, huge cowl made in 2 skeins of super bulky yarn, and it actually is reversible. So on this side, we have this amazing texture. And on the inside, it's completely smooth. It's really easy. You actually work it in a spiral. And I just love it. It is the perfect size. I'm just delighted. It smells all sheepy and woolly. We'll leave it up here. What I really need to do is put it on a hanger. It is dry enough to put on a hanger without stretching it out now, because I was just laying it flat to dry. I am hoping to get a little bit of time to write up that pattern tomorrow, which is Friday, because it really shouldn't take me too long to actually write up that pattern. It's, like I said, it's a really easy pattern, and I think I can get it tested and released really quickly as well. And actually, I'm going to call this, I have a name for it already. It's called the gift cowl, because what I want to do is enable people. I know, like, we tend to overextend ourselves when it comes to the holidays or things that we want to make for people. And we're like, oh yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that. Or we just want to make someone something because we love them and that's how we express our love. But we then get trapped in these huge projects and they don't get done on time, and then we feel guilty, and it's this whole thing. So this actually you could complete in like a couple of nights. It took me pretty much the whole 2 weeks to complete it, because I was working on it 2 to 3 rows per night, or rounds I should say. Working with big yarn and a big hook tends to bother my elbow, and I'm really trying to listen to that in my body and not push it. So even though I could have busted through like half the cowl in one night, I didn't do that. I took it slow, and actually it was really nice to have it grow incrementally, and it was still done. Like, you did not see this last time, and it's still a finished object. So you could do this in literally like 2 nights, 1 day, probably 2 days. So it's going to be called the gift cowl. That doesn't mean you can't make one for yourself. Just means if you need a pattern, a quick, beautiful, textured cowl pattern that you can just give to someone and be like, hey, I love you, I made this for you, without it taking over your life, this is going to be the pattern for you. So I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping to work on that more tomorrow. So that's the finished object that you didn't even see last time. Next, the next one that I have to show you. In fact, I'm going to show you this one first. I have one that I like barely touched, but I need to explain a different one first. so that I can explain the one that I barely touched. I have been working on my Neverland top, which is a pattern by Nomad Stitches, and I actually have finished a panel. But I have a huge amount of progress to show you on both panels. Let's see here. To get all of these things out, I've got swatches, I've got panels, I've got yarn tags, I've got a pattern, so many things. So the yarn that I am using is called, it's from Numa Yarns, and it is 100% superwash merino, 400 yards, 4 ounces, in the colorway Raspberry Jam. This came from someone who sent me a package of yarn simply labeled Yarn Fairy. I still don't know who that person is to this day, but your yarn is being made into a thing. So let's talk about the pattern. I love the pattern. It's very clear. It is very easy to follow. I have one major complaint, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm picking on Sandra of Nomad Stitches. I think she's an incredible designer. This is the first pattern I have made of hers. Although I have had several of her patterns in my wish list and in my queue, this just happens to be the first one that I've made. She's an incredible crochet designer. I don't know if this is true of her other patterns or not. In this pattern, there is no schematic. Y'all know how I feel about schematics. Like, I know you have the measurements because you had to grade all of these into multiple sizes. So you have the measurements somewhere in a spreadsheet. Please just give them to us. Like, there are no armhole measurements in this pattern. There are no shoulder strap measurements. There's literally a total measurement for a crop top, which is shoulder to the bottom, and a bust width, and that is it. And that drives me insane because I am questionable as to whether this is going to fit me because I can't compare. I just need a schematic, y'all. Is it worth it to me to make patterns without schematics? Like, I'm trying to decide. If it's a large oversized thing, yeah, maybe. But on a fitted thing, like, this is driving me insane. I'm also doing some adjusting on the pattern because there's no way I could get gauge with this yarn. This yarn says it's a fingering weight, but it works up more as a sport weight. So I have been, normally I would be making the size large to fit my bust, but I'm actually making the size small per the numbers in the pattern. But it's coming out to be the measurements of the large. But that means because there's no schematic that I'm having to add rows and length in certain places. So this is panel number 1. You can see the lace at the bottom. This is where I was last time, where the stitch marker is. So I've worked all of this. I finished the lace and then I worked 15. I think in her pattern she has you work like this much double crochet. I worked much more because this is a crop top and I don't want the lace pattern. First of all, I don't want the crop top to be super cropped on me because I'm just not comfortable with that style. Second of all, I don't want lace on my boobs. Even though I'm gonna be wearing a tank top underneath of it. It's not the lace itself that bothers me. It's that, like, it's just gonna be like just one. Like, I can't handle that. So I actually worked 15 rows of double crochet on this panel and on the other panel. I'm working both panels concurrently so that I can make sure they're the same, at least till up to here. And this is the second panel. So the second panel, I was at the similar place, right at the end of the lace pattern. So I've worked all the solid rows. I have worked some decreases. And this is why I say, give me a schematic, because the size small didn't have any extra decrease rows worked, but I worked a couple of extra ones because I felt like it needed to be taller, but I can't tell how tall the armhole is supposed to be. And then, yeah, it has lace on the top as well. So lace on the bottom, lace on the top. See if I can maybe show you how this is going to be. I am really concerned that these armholes are not going to fit. Like, this feels really high up to me. Like, these shoulder straps should be longer. It may block out a little bit longer. Like, but can I guarantee that? No, not until I have the other panel completed and like tack them together at the top and try it on. Seamed garments. So I think that the armholes are going to be too small. But as it stands right now, I'm really happy with the length of it.
because it comes right to my belly button, which is how I would want a crop top, would be right to my belly button. And it has just a picot edge that I need to work across the bottom, because if I wear high-waisted pants, they're going to come right to here. I don't want the crop top to be up here because I can't handle that personally. So it's beautiful. I love the color. I love the lace, especially at the top and the bottom. I just don't know that it's going to fit. And I'm almost making this as a test to be like, okay, on a crop top, how long do I want it to be truly? On a fitted kind of garment, how comfortable do I need to be with the armhole size? Like if this doesn't fit me at the end, then I will pass it along or sell it or something to someone that it does fit. The other problem I'm about to have is I don't know if I have enough yarn. I thought that I would have no problem even adding some rows because I am working the size small and not the size large. So it uses obviously a lot less yardage. But this is all I have left of the ball that made this cake, or made this panel, or this little bit. The second panel is worked differently. So there is that. The second panel is actually worked in a V-neck. Let me see if I can find a photo for you. Like that. So it should use a little bit less yarn than this panel with the higher neck. But then once that panel is done, it has to be seamed together. Then there is an edging around the neck and an edging around the bottom. Then there are cap sleeves. And I truly, let's see if I can find a photo of the cap sleeves for you. That's what it looks like. I really don't know if I'm gonna have enough yarn. Thankfully, I've saved both of my finished swatches, so that'll give me a tiny bit of extra yardage. I'm hoping that I'll have enough. I think I will be playing yarn chicken, but I always think I'm gonna run out of yarn, but like that seems small. Am I gonna get a whole sleeve out of that? I don't know. I don't know. Especially if I finish this and I go back and I'm like, ooh, I need to add, just holding this up, I feel like I need to add like 3 or 4 more rows to this strap. I just don't know. Drama. It's beautiful, but drama, y'all. All I have to say is give me a dang schematic. It's not that hard. I'm not even just saying that as like a crocheter. I design patterns. It's not hard to add a schematic. It's a little tedious, but it's not hard. The hard part is actually grading the pattern to begin with. But once that is finished, just typing in the measurements into your pattern is not hard. Give me a schematic. I'd like to start a petition that all garments must have schematics from now on. Otherwise, we boycott them. This brings me to crochet project number 3, which has barely been touched. But the reason I want to talk about that first is because, as I said, that is like a test of how I want a crop top to fit. This pattern, I've contemplated frogging multiple times, and I keep going, it's so beautiful. I just want to make it because it's so beautiful. So I need to accept that this pattern is just going to take forever and be, the word for this pattern is tedious. Tedious. It is the Last Ray top by Lena Fetedova. This pattern does have a schematic. It has lots of information. It is very boxy, and I am modifying it because I am making less stitches than the smallest size. So the smallest size in this pattern has a foundation single crochet of 122 stitches. I started my first panel with 109 based on how I want this to fit. I want it to be much more fitted. I don't want it to be a boxy look. And honestly, I don't know how anyone could bear making this pattern because it has all of this positive ease, like 10 to something, 11 inches of positive ease. Like the whole thing is worked in back loop, only single crochet. And that's the rest row. Like the other rows you have to count, you have to do decreases, you have to do chains, you have to skip stitches and count. Like
There is no rest in this pattern whatsoever. However, the reason I keep working on it is because it's beautiful. I have worked exactly 2 rows since the last time. Ignore the stitch marker, it's just there. 2 rows. It's all scrunched up, but when it's blocked, it's gonna do this. And to me, that is such a cool texture. Again, this is a bottom-up seamed garment. Well, I don't know if it's, she says it's not seamed, but like you're basically crocheting a seam. So just because you're not sewing doesn't mean it's not seamed. Yeah, it's gonna be really beautiful when it's done. When is it gonna be done? When I'm 50. This is Malabrigo yarn. It's so pleasurable to work with, which does help. It is the colorway Fuchsia. If I can find, uh-oh. I just realized I may have crocheted those 2 rows with the wrong hook. I'm pretty sure I crocheted them with a 3.5 millimeter hook. And look what it says here. 4 millimeters. It's Malabrigo sock yarn, 100% merino. I do think I'm gonna have to frog. I can't tell. I think I'm gonna have to frog though. So the reason I want the measurements on that crop top is because I want to take those measurements and apply them to this. Because I'm not gonna be able to go on her pattern. I'm gonna have to kind of make up my own thing as I go along. And now I have to frog 2 rows. What? The word for that project is tedious. I just need to accept it, I suppose. I have one more crochet project to show you. And this is going to surprise you maybe, because I've actually not completed, but I've gotten a lot done on this. It is the Marine Adeline Emily doll that I showed you last time, that I pulled out. I haven't touched this whip since before Nova was born. I am actually less than 10 rows from being done with the body. This is what my doll will eventually look like. Except, so her pants will be purple, her skirt will be mint, her body is blue, and then her hair and her shoes are gonna be hot pink. I don't recommend this pattern unless you're pretty experienced with amigurumi, because it gives you very, very little information. And it also like has not been tech edited for consistency, just in style. I haven't found any errors in the actual like numbers or anything, but just style you may find a little annoying. It also has been translated from another language. So unless you know what you're doing with amigurumi, I don't recommend this particular pattern, but if you do, you'll be fine. You can figure it out. So last time I showed you, I have the head completed already and the arms. And look at this. I had one whole leg completed and then like this much of another leg. So I finished the leg, I started the body, and here's the torso. So I have like maybe 8 more rows of blue. It's not stuffed yet because I've just been going around in a circle. I did realize I've been doing the decreases incorrectly because you can see them, which is fine. It's for Nova, who cares? If this was a gift, that would irritate me because I was doing the decreases on the front loop instead of the back loop. I don't know what I was thinking. I was not paying attention. So pretty soon this is going to be stuffed, and I think actually before I stuff it, I'm gonna go back. There's a skirt gonna be added right here. Before I stuff it, I'm gonna go back and add that skirt and at least pick up the stitches for the skirt, because I don't wanna be doing that when it's all stretched out. I feel like that would be really annoying. So yeah, and then once this is attached to the head, I have to put some eyes on the head. Do I even have safety eyes? I have to look. Once I attach the head, then the whole doll will be done, and I will still need to do shoes and hair for the doll and the skirt. So there's still quite a bit to go. I have been working on this, again, slowly. 3 rounds maybe a night if I have time to sit, because I don't want, amigurumi really, really hurts my arm. The tight gauge hurts my arm and it hurts my elbow, and I already have elbow problems, so I've been trying to not overdo it because I will pay for it for like several days if I overdo it. So even with just working on that a few rounds a night, look how much progress it's gotten done. I would love by the next time we talk for me to have the body sewn onto the head. That does mean I'm gonna have to find, if I have any safety eyes, and if I don't, I'm gonna have to go to Joann Fabrics and find them. The last project that I have to share with you is a knitted project that you saw at some point recently. I showed you that I picked the fade. It is my Cozy Classic Raglan, which is a pattern by Jessie Made Designs. It is all scrunched up on the needles, so I'm barely going to be able to show it to you because I'm not done with the increases. This was skein number 1. This is skein number 2. I have not gotten into number 3 yet, but I will show it to you. Oh, there's a swatch. What a ridiculous swatch. This is skein number 3. And then this is number 4. And this is number 5. I put these back. These 2 are currently attached. The Cozy Classic Raglan is a top-down raglan sweater. It is such a delightful pattern. Like, I know I've been doing nothing but complaining about patterns so far in this episode. I have zero complaints with this pattern. There's so much good information here. That's what it looks like. There is a picture of the sweater hanging flat, just like that. There is size all the way from like a 28-inch bust to a 62-inch bust, so size inclusive. It has information on how to choose a size for what you're looking for. It has suggested yarn. It has yardage information. It has techniques such as you have to do a tubular cast on. It has fading information if you want to do that. Tubular bind off in the round. I haven't gotten to that one yet because nothing has been bound off. So like it just has so much information. And the schematic is so clear. The measurements are so clear. I have had 0 questions. I've had to Google nothing for this pattern. And it has had multiple things that I've never done before, such as a tubular cast on and lifted increases on the knit side and the purl side. I've never done that before. It also uses German short rows, which I have done. I just haven't done them in ages. So I didn't have to Google how to do it because she has a little paragraph of how to do it. Perfectly good information. No questions from me whatsoever on how to do it. So you're really not gonna be able to see much because this is what it looks like. The needle that I have this on right now is too small. It is in fact too small and I am struggling with it. However, I only have 4 more sets of increases to do, which means 8 more total knitted rounds, and I will be splitting for the body and the sleeves. So I really don't want to transfer this to another needle just so that I can transfer it back when it's the perfect size again. So I'm just dealing with it at the moment. So a couple of things that I've never done before. One is the tubular cast on. This is my tubular cast on. I hope it looks fine. I've never done one before. It's plenty like stretchy. It fits over my giant head. It took me a whole night to do this tubular cast on. So I was like super tense. Basically, it's magic and I don't know how it works. But it's amazing. It works. And then I did the German short rows. I want to say there's maybe like 8 or 10-ish rows of short rows, so that the back of the sweater is higher than the front, like this, so that it doesn't slit back. Short rows are so important when you're designing, in my opinion. If you're designing top down or cardigans or things like that, like this stays because it's heavy enough. This, like a t-shirt is higher in the back than the front, and it keeps it from slipping, like choking you. If you ever feel like you're wearing something that's like pulling back and choking you, it's probably because the back's not higher than the front, and that's a problem. It's a huge problem in crochet designs. So I finished the short rows and then I started doing increases. I realized when I was about halfway through the short rows, this needle that I'm working on is a 4.5 millimeter needle, but I have a smaller needle on the other side because when I'm working in the round, it just goes faster. I don't remember who sent me that tip originally, but it's such a good tip. If you're working in the round, have where your yarn is coming off the needles, have a smaller needle because you're not knitting on that needle and it just makes it go fast. But when I was doing short rows, I was working back and forth. So some of the rows, the purl rows, were actually worked on a smaller needle than called for. You can't tell. I can tell if I get really close to it, like this right here, this row smaller, but I don't think it's going to affect the finished product that much. I did not bother alternating skeins on the neckband, which as you can see, there's a little bit of pooling. I don't think that'll bother me because this is the front and there's very little pooling on the neckband in the front. I did not alternate skeins when I was doing the short rows because I didn't want to bother with that. But as soon as I started the increases, I started helical knitting with both of these balls of yarn. Did I want to do that? No, because it is a pain. But not only should you generally alternate skeins when you're knitting with hand-dyed yarn, these skeins are visibly different. So this one has a lot more purple in it than this one. This one's a lot more greenish. This one's like gray and purple, and this one's like greenish and purple. So I have been alternating and I'm fading it. So the only problem I'm going to run into is the sleeves. I've created a problem for myself. So in 8 rounds, I'm going to be splitting for the sleeves. This yarn will not be used up by then. There's no way. So I need to be knitting the sleeves concurrently with the body, both of them, to match the fade. I could be knitting from the outside and the inside of both of these balls, but that still only fixes me for one sleeve because I'm gonna have to be helical knitting the whole thing. And I'm not even sure how to measure the yarn. Like, how much yarn do I need of this ball for the top of a sleeve to be helical knitting into another? I don't know. I'm just gonna cross that bridge when I come to it, I think. I may even wind off a set number of grams for both sleeves and the body of this ball because I really wanted to use as much of this yarn as possible. But I may just deal with the fact that there may be a tiny nugget left over or something because I need the fade to match. If it doesn't match, it's gonna drive me crazy. When this one is done, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna work straight from this ball for a little bit. I don't know if I wanna do that because I don't want it to pool. So I may immediately start all helical knitting with that third skein. I just don't know. I've created a problem for myself, but it is beautiful. It's really beautiful. The pattern is really lovely. And this yarn, this particular yarn is merino cashmere nylon from Miss Babs. I've never worked with Miss Babs before. This yarn is magical. I would like to make everything in the world in this yarn. It's just so soft and so plump and so shiny, and it's such a pleasure to work with. I have nothing bad to say about this yarn or this pattern. I just, in true me fashion, am making it more difficult than it needs to be. Because of course I am, of course. I have a little bit of Happy Mail to show you. I want to show you 2 things I bought and then 2 things that came. One thing I bought is for a friend of mine who's having a baby. It's Bernat blanket yarn. I really wanted 3 skeins of this, but they only had 2. And I don't want to order it online because I know from past experience it will not be the same color. So I got a white to go with it. It's very hard for me to make things for other people, but when babies are involved, I will make baby blankets, and I always make them out of that Bernat blanket yarn and I make them corner to corner because one, they go fast, but two, they're very squishy, so they can be used as tummy time mats. When babies drop their heads on the floor, it's not gonna hurt them. And they can be endlessly washed and machine dried with no problem. That yarn will last forever. So I like to give new parents something that requires zero fuss. Throw it in, did they spit up on it? Did they poop on it? Throw it in the wash, throw it in the dryer. It comes out perfectly every time. And this particular friend is, I want to say, about to enter her 3rd trimester, and they have had some fertility issues, and they went through IVF, and now she's pregnant with a little girl, and it's just the most delightful. I'm just so happy because they've been on this journey for quite some time, and they went through IVF and they put out all that money, and just it's such an investment, and they're getting what they wanted, which is a beautiful baby girl out of it, and I want to celebrate with them. And they live probably 1,000 miles away from me now, but she's one of those friends that, like, you just pick up where you left off anytime you see each other. So I'm really happy for her. So I went to Joann's this morning, actually, because they were having a sale, and also Nova needed to burn off some steam. She was climbing the walls. I just let her run around for a while, and then at the end I grabbed that on the way out. So that's purchase number 1. That will be a baby blanket that you will see very soon. Purchase number 2 is I ordered some of this from Webs. This is Cascade 220 Superwash Fingering Weight Yarn. It is black. The colorway, I assume, is black, but let's look. It says color 28. How delightful. It's 50 grams, 219 yards, so it's like a little bit of a light fingering, and it is 100% superwash merino. It's very soft. I've actually never worked with Cascade, not of any kind, let alone 220 before, and it's been on my list for quite some time. And you may say, what am I going to do with this? I am going to remake the obsidian cardigan. So I did kind of box myself in with that name, that it needs to be black, but I also want it to be black because I want it to go with a lot of things. I, through much contemplation, have decided that to get that pattern, because it was started so long ago, to get it to a place where it could be understandable by crocheters would be so difficult, because there are just parts in the pattern that I have to remake them to figure out what the heck I was saying. Also, I don't really want to make that pattern out of Holskarn Super Soft because it's just too scratchy for me. Like, I know I'm never gonna wear it. So I wanna make a few tweaks to the pattern, and I want to remake the pattern, but I also wanted to still make it out of an accessible yarn. So the reason I chose Holskarn Super Soft to begin with is because it was very inexpensive, and it was. So I went looking, and I looked at knit picks like Stroll in black. I looked at the Webs fingering weight yarn in black. What is that, Valley Yarns, and then I looked at Cascade, and they're all very comparable in price. And if you buy yarn from Webs in the United States, you get the Webs discount, which is like 10% off over a certain amount, or 20% off over a certain amount, and then 25% off. So the more you buy, the more discount you get, and this yarn qualified for that. So the price of all of those yarns were the same, and ultimately I just wanted to work with Cascade 220 because I've heard really good things, and it's like a very good workhorse yarn, and I think this is going to give me the drape that I am looking for. Super Soft did not have that drape that I was looking for because it's not a superwash yarn, but also it's very rustic and scratchy. So I will be remaking the obsidian cardigan. First of all, I have to wind up one of these and do a gauge swatch so that I can regrade the entire pattern into this yarn. This is a slightly light fingering weight yarn, but Holskarn is like cobweb yarn. So I have to regrade the yarn. The benefit of doing that is this is going to require a lot less yardage than the other one. And my only complaint about this yarn so far is it comes in 50 gram hanks. Like, okay, if you're making socks, fine. But like, that means I'm gonna have to wind up 1,000,000 of these in 50 gram balls and 1,000,000 more ends that I have to weave in. So I don't love that, especially because the Holskarn, I think the whole cardigan I made with maybe like 2 or 3 ends to weave in because it was coming off of a cone. So that's gonna be a little annoying, but other than that, it seems like really great yarn. And I think a lot of people use it all the time because it is accessible and it's for wool yarn. It is not expensive and the color is super deep. They had all kinds of colors. So I bought a bunch of this to remake the obsidian cardigan. Special shout out to my patrons who support me on Patreon who made that possible. And I will be going through the design process of that with them. So those were the 2 purchases. And then 2 things came in the mail. One from a lovely friend called Christine. And she sent me the cutest little card. A lovely bar of soap, cup of tea soap with olive oil and shea butter. It smells really good, really good. And I have been dying to use it, honestly, but I wanted to show it to you. There's a little tea nutty almond cream. I have also been dying to drink this, but I wanted to show it to you before I did. The ingredients are apple, almonds, cinnamon, beetroot flavors. Like, yum. It sounds so good. And I really love Tiesta tea. And then there is a beautiful skein of yarn in there and a stitch marker from Knot House Yarns. 100%. This says 100% superwash merino, but the superwash is crossed out. So maybe it's non-superwash merino? It feels a little scratchy, so maybe. The colorway is bubblegum. So I don't know if it's superwash or not, but it's very pretty. It definitely looks like bubblegum. I love the barber pole effect. Thank you, Christine. And then the second thing that came in the mail, again, I was not expecting this at all, but it came from, there's a bunch of tea bags, and it came from Eden, who so graciously provided yarn support for the Belong wrap, which is that 6-color rainbow wrap that I made for Pride Month. And she just randomly sent me a sock set. This is the colorway Spring, and this is the colorway Rosy. Is that Rosy? Yeah, that's an R. I thought I said Posy for a minute, but both of those names would work. And her note was like, I just wanted to make you smile because everything has been hard, and I know you like sock sets. Isn't this gonna make the most beautiful pair of socks? Yes, it is. This may have to get wound up to be the next pair of socks once those are finished. It's just so pretty. It's so pretty. Thank you, Eden. I will leave a link to her shop below. She dyes incredible yarn. It's so beautiful. So if you would like to support her, click on that link. Click on that link down below. That's it. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm tired enough to like cry randomly. So that's fun. I just think it's gonna be a crazy next month, honestly. I don't know what today is. Sunday was the 11th, so maybe today is the 15th, perhaps? That seems right, because Friday the 16th. Yeah. There's like a couple more weeks in September. And then at the beginning of October, my husband and I and the baby are going to Orlando to stay in like a little timeshare place. And my in-laws are coming from South Carolina to stay with us for most of the whole time, which I'm really excited about because they've only seen Nova twice. And she's really excited about getting to spend some time with them. So that's happening. And then I will be home for like a week, and then I will be going to Rhinebeck. So October is gonna be crazy, y'all. I don't know how to feel about this. We're just gonna take it one day at a time. I really hope Nova's done being sick. She gave me and Josiah whatever she has right now that she had to have antibiotics for. We don't have to have antibiotics, but like it's kind of like in our chest a little bit. Our body knows whatever this germ is and is fighting it off because neither of us have had a fever. Like we just have a little bit of a cough and like some chest tightness, but it's nothing that like we haven't seen before. Our body's like, oh, I know what to do with that. But it's kind of like, do you have to share the germs? Come on. It's not taking us out like it took her out, but I'm just want her to be happy and healthy. I really, really want her to be healthy when we're in Orlando, because I don't know what it's gonna be like. So wish me luck with that. It's gonna be fun. I will see you again before I go to Orlando, and then I'm hoping to see you again before I go to Rhinebeck as well. I think the schedule works out that I will be recording again. And I really hope I can get this pattern ready for y'all sometime in October, because it would be the perfect thing to make gifts with. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I'm so glad I did this. I do feel genuinely much happier having spent an hour talking to you and squishing yarn and complaining about patterns. I turned my frown upside down, but she's probably gonna be awake in a half an hour, and hopefully I can get this edited and the upload started before she wakes up, because then it'll be another long afternoon stretch of parenting, which is a delight, and it is hard. Two things are true. So I hope you're having a better 2 weeks than I am. I hope you're having a better couple of months than I am, honestly. But if you're not, and you feel this way, it's okay. All of that is welcome. Embrace it, I suppose, and then get yourself a snack. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I have a bag of chips. A little bag of cheddar and sour cream chips that I'm going to eat. So happy. So until I see you again, happy crafting. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down below, and you will be notified whenever new episodes come on this channel, which is every 2 weeks. And leave me a comment below. What are you working on? What do you think about needing a schematic in every pattern? What do you do when there's no schematic? Like, just talk to me. I'd love to talk to you. And until I see you again, be kind to yourself. Bye, friends.